What is up, Bridgewater Nation? We are back for another episode of Bridgewater's Live tonight with guests You Are Ultra, and we've got a whole team here. We're going to go through some introductions here shortly, but we'll get started. Wesley, it's been a long time. How are you doing?
I'm doing well, John. I'm pumped to be back from our little hiatus with this awesome episode. I think it's gonna be cool to kind of learn about UR Ultra and the mission behind it, the purpose, and kind of everything that goes into that. So, without further ado, let's just dive right into it with introductions for everyone that doesn't know who's on the screen right now. We can start over at the bike shop and just go ahead and start off by introducing yourself.
You was Eric Whittington, Steve Meglin, Brennan Ransom.
Got back.
Awesome. Great to have you guys with us tonight. We'll start with our usual tradition here. Wesley, what are you drinking?
I've got the mango cart today out of my Cat's Corner glass in honor of homecoming down at Ohio University this weekend.
Nice. Congrats on that. I wish I was down there for that. It's a wonderful place to be, I think. Any there over in the bike shop, you guys have anything fun and exciting drinking?
We have this cold, frothy Deer Park spring water, vintage. Can't read the date on it, but it's good.
We have born on.
Might be some salmon eggs floating around in it.
Scott, how about you?
I got some H2O too.
Nice H2O.
Not H2O2, but H2O also.
H2O also.
H2O2.
I've got myself a Founders Agave Classic lime kind of beer here, so it's pretty delicious and technically goza. So
Is it made out of agave?
yeah, some sort of agave in it. It's pretty potent and tasteful. So we're gonna have a good show if it goes long. Let's jump into let's talk about what is UR Ultra. I think a lot of people who watch the show probably are familiar with the name and have seen it flow around, especially if they're in Ohio. But what is it? And we'll go from there. Eric, do you want to take that first?
Yeah, a lot of people know it lately because of Arlen, one of our good friends, Arlen Glick. You know, he runs for us and he's been killing it this year. But urultra.com is a race registration platform, just like some of the other ones. But we're trying to do something a lot different to where we want to give back as much as possible into the running community, the veteran community, and several other charities. What we do is when a race comes on, we partnered up with Team Red, White, and Blue and Team RWB. So whenever a race pops up on our site, and if they're cool with it, we'll put an RWB logo on their site, and then UR Ultra, not the race directors, but UR Ultra will donate a percentage of every service fee from every runner for every race to Team RWB. And another neat thing about that is then Team RWB puts that race on their activity app, and they boost it within a 400-mile radius of the location of that race, to encourage veterans and non-veteran members of RWB to go and participate in that race because they know it helps them. We also will do right now personal donations too. I'm matching the donations myself to Whispering Grace Horse Farm. They provide free equine therapy for veterans, but it goes far past that. We want to get involved in other charities as well outside of the veterans and help as many people as we can. And a few years ago, about 2.5, almost 3 years ago, Brent and I were running one night, and he's like, these race registration platforms, he's like, I did the math, and there's, thousands of races on these sites, and we know what the service fees are because we're runners and we sign up and we pay them ourselves. And we kind of did some basic math, and it turns out to be quite a large sum of money. And when he gave me his figure, I just about fell over and was like, I wouldn't even know what to do with that. I said, think of all the people that we could help, all the charities that we could help. Think of what we could give back to the communities that we hold these races in. It would be astronomical. And Jeremy and I from Race Brimstone, we donate money from our races to different charities for every event that we do already. And it's like we could just blow that out of the water and do it in such large proportions. And I kind of looked at him and I was like, well, I grew up playing the Atari, so I don't know how in the heck how are we gonna build the site. And it turns out Brent and one of our other partners that's not joining us just yet, David, they actually pretty much built, maintained all the embassy websites for the federal government, so they know their way around computers. And with their knowledge and, with me and Scott being runners, we just started putting everything together. We gave them the ideas, they would build it. We'd give them more ideas, they would build it. And we did this for just over 2 years. It took us to build this site. And before we launched it, and we're still tweaking it. We're still making changes. One of the cool things is we've had a handful of race directors, will message us or call us and say, can you add this to your site, or can it do this? And these guys get it changed sometimes in a few days, sometimes within 5 minutes, but we're able to make these changes as we go to make it, just to continue to grow it and make it even better and better. So we are a veteran-owned company. That's one of the reasons why we, kind of have a soft spot in our heart for veteran organizations. But, we just wanted to make a product that was cool, that was simple, and that really did something, something, outside of managing races. We wanted to do more. And, that's why when we were thinking, well, should we get a sponsored runner? Should we find somebody to run for us? And, that's one of the biggest reasons we picked Arlen. It's not just because he's a good runner, but, this guy's got one of the biggest hearts in the world, and it just made sense. But, the funny thing is it started off with me and Brent, and the next 3 owners, just kind of, it all just fell into place. Everybody kind of came together at the right place at the right time. And it was like a match made in heaven. One of our best friends, Brandon, is just an accounting whiz. I mean, he does numbers in his sleep. So he handles all the accounting. Obviously we have Dave and Brent that do all the computer work. We don't let Brent talk in public too much. So if you don't hear much from him tonight, he's an IT guy for a reason, not a public speaker. And then, Scott Bach and I have been friends for several years. He used to come to my Eagle Up race, and we just hit it off and became best friends. And next thing you know, we're traveling the U.S. together, doing races together. And it just, it was like, what, you would be perfect helping us with social media and helping us grow this company. So that's kind of how it all came to be. We just launched several months ago, and we got some nice races up there. It's a slow grow, but that's kind of good right now because we're getting ready to do some pretty big things. And it's also enabled us to fix a couple glitches here and there and to make some adjustments and changes to continue to make it better. Does anybody want to add to that, or am I going to be sitting here talking all night long?
Yeah, it's great. Perfect.
Yeah. Next.
I love that you guys are, that whole process you guys are built on giving. Like the whole premise of this was to give. Like you're like, there's a lot of money here, and people are keeping it. Why don't we just give it back to people who need it? And I love that. And that's what one of the great things about kind of small companies and how they work and operate. A lot of that money goes back. And you guys.
It goes a little bit deeper than that, though, too, John. Brent's got a special needs child, and they raced for Team Hoyt. And, that was one of the biggest things, too, right off the bat. It wasn't just about helping veterans and churches or whoever needed the help. It was, we've got these kids that need push carts for races, and and God knows whatever else that, that you need. And, there's a lot of families and kids that we can help with special needs too. And that was a big thing on Brent's side that, I want to be able to help more kids like my son. And, that was a big deal to him. And so,
yeah, just giving everybody the opportunity to race. For my son, we ran the Akron Marathon together, and to see his face at the end of that race was amazing. Just lit up, just screaming. Everybody, everybody that's there is all cheering. The stadium just got a little bit louder as we crossed. So that, just to give him that joy, it really touches me. It's really important to me, and for other parents out there, it's a big deal. To have your child participate in sports that they normally couldn't. So for this and what we're doing, it's definitely played a big role in my life and why I want to jump on this. And really, we got the right people, and every one of these guys has huge hearts, and that's what it takes.
Yeah, it got so bad when we were building this that I couldn't get any work done here at the bike shop, as you see, we're in a bike shop, because he would call me all day long. What about this? What about this? Can you do this? Can you do that? And it was 2 months of craziness, or 2 years of craziness, trying to get all this done and lined up. But I think if you see the site, it's, and not to sound biased, but it is quite nice. And again, there's always room for improvement, and there will be even more improvement here to come.
And we're all employed full time, so this is on top of what we're doing now. And the time and dedication is still there. If I get a question in the middle of the day, I'm stopping what I'm doing, answering that real quick, and then jumping back to work. But at the end, when my day's over for my full-time job, I take on another full-time job, which is this, and it's fun though. It's not a job.
Oh yeah, Brent and I got out of bed. I got out of bed back in maybe February, March, because some stuff was going on with a couple.
You and Brent got out of bed.
Yeah, we had.
Okay,
he's in Ohio and I'm in Minneapolis. But yeah, a couple of registrations. There were some questions about some things, and so we both. I got out of my bed here. He got out of his bed or whatever. And yeah, it was like 10, 11, 12 o'clock at night, and like, hold on, let me get on the phone. We'll figure this out, and it's, it's the good and the bad is that it is just us,
Yeah. And the cool thing is it's the site itself is quite seamless. It is these guys that are really bang up job on putting this together. So.
Yeah, I kind of want to dive deeper into that discussion point entirely right now. I've used, race registration websites, ticketing websites, all the time. And, sometimes you just get to one and you have to click through 25 different things to kind of just click check out and go. Talk about how you decided to go about optimizing the user experience for your platform.
Should we let Brent talk? Go ahead.
Yeah.
Go, Brent, go.
Yeah, I wanted it to be as simple as possible. I've been developing websites for over 15 years, e-commerce as well. And just to make it as simple as possible for the registrant to get on the site, find the race they're looking for, click on the race, select a drop down, select the distance, and then hit register, and then you check out. That's it. It's really a two-step process. When you get to the actual race you want to do, you select the distance, you hit register, you fill out your payment information, hit pay, you're done. It's just simple as that. I didn't want to go any further because we could have drawn this out into multiple steps and made it just everything on the page, smaller. But it's really easy just to take 2 steps and finish it. And that was the end goal, was to really just as simple as possible, like you were saying. And the UI is simple to use too. Your registration's right at the top of the page. And you select the distance.
That's the user interface, by the way.
I was wondering what that meant.
For some of the
What's the UI?
Yeah, there we go.
Sorry.
The first thing that popped in my mind was UTI. I don't have anything to do with building the site, so we're safe.
But
Probably
yeah,
a good
on my end, I just wanted to make it clean and simple. And I feel that we've accomplished that. And, if we get feedback from people that say, hey, can you change this, or, can you make this a little bit easier to use, then by all means, we take everybody's information and we make the changes. And that's why the site is where it's at now, is because of, race directors and runners saying, hey, can you do this? Would you be able to change this a little? And we take what they say and we make those changes.
I mean, it's true. Like with the on the different sides of it. Sorry to jump in. When being a non-coder or whatever, like it's just even by saying sometimes, can you make that blue instead of red? I mean, it sounds kind of simple sometimes, but there is a little bit of coding you got to go in and switch a meta tab to a super meta tab or whatever you got to do, right? And so those things are, I know I've shot ideas left and right at things that, to like, what if we did this? What if we did that? Could we make one of these? How about one of those? That'd be super cool. People would love that. And at some point we still have to kind of dial it down to what we have, like a very streamlined, simple, matter of fact page, that's easy to get around.
Yeah. And on the backside, talking on the race director side, then as far as building races, when a race director signs on, they create an account, we approve it, they can go in and build the race. The backside could be the back end. Am I using the wrong terminology here? Backside, back end. All right, whatever. It's, you can create your race to be as intricate as you possibly want with GPX files, the whole 9 yards. I mean, you realistically could put your race out, and it could basically be it's its own web page. It could be 15 pages of every single detail about the whole race. You can put it on this platform, so that people don't have to, because a lot of times you go to a person's race, whichever site it may be on, and it's just one page with a few paragraphs talking about the race. Then you got to go to the website, then you got to go to their handout. On here, you can make this as intricate as possible, as in-depth as you want, or you can make it a simple thing and direct them back to your website. So it's really cool on the back end for race directors too.
Yeah, if you have a 5K, I mean, you don't have to fill out every tab. You don't have to turn on, if you're a race director and you go in the back end, you don't have to turn on every tab. You can select, maybe 3 tabs that you want to put your information in, and that's it. But if you have a 200 miler and you want to put in aid stations and you want to put in everything and make it look nice to the user, you can do that too.
You can even put a video in, I believe, if you look at the Eagle Up Ultra race that's on there, there's actually even a video that people could watch the video, the start of Eagle Up this year, which is pretty cool. Hoist actually made the video for us. It was pretty neat.
So question would probably be like more of a race director question, I guess, but on that back end, do the race directors have the ability to kind of predefine maybe a certain percentage that they are going to donate to maybe a charity that they're going to donate to?
Yeah, that is coming as we speak, where it's actually in development, and it'll be up on the site here in 2 weeks. And the race director will be able to choose what charity they want for whatever charity their race is for, by all means.
There's actually, if you look at Scotty Cummer actually started it with one of his races. He actually added a link that the runners can click on, and then they could become trail member association for the trail that they run the Badger 100 on, and pay like the $15 donation or something. So there's something similar to that on there now where we can post donation links. But yeah, they're working on the other stuff.
Awesome.
Yeah, I really want to integrate that into the site so the race director can put in that information specifically, and that money then will be transferred to that charity's bank account. So the race director doesn't have to take the time to separate everything and then send a separate check. But if they wanted to do that, then we could also obviously accommodate that.
And then every 2 weeks, when Brandon does the accounting and sends out all the deposits to all the race directors, he does a complete breakdown of races, which individuals signed up, and it's really neat. It's very detailed reports.
Awesome. Yeah, I was just trying to think about ways, that race director would utilize specifically your guys' platform, since you guys have that extra desire to make sure you give back. So good to hear it's in development.
Kind of going off that, I've got a question here. If there's any way right now or maybe in the future with this platform that if a race director was looking to kind of market their race on UR Ultra without actually hosting the event on their platform, and they set up kind of a sponsorship with you guys through that, is that something that's in the works potentially as well?
I haven't really thought too much about that, to be honest with you. Eventually,
we can do that through the timing system.
We haven't gotten to this part yet about our new timing system that has been developed. But, if it comes down to the road, like I know a lot of race directors like using one specific site because of all the rankings. Okay. And even though my races in particular are not on that site, they get downloaded on that site so that the runners can get the rankings from our races still on that site. So, when it comes to something like that, that's another thing that's also in the works.
With that too, we want to talk to a plethora of race directors too, to get their input on, how would you judge from your race? How would you determine if somebody's ran your race and then 6 other races? How would they be first out of everybody that ran all those races? Just getting the different course, difficulties, terrain difficulties, elevation difficulties, things like that. We want to incorporate all that. So reaching out to several race directors will help us do that, and several runners too. So we really want to take everybody's input and bring that to the table before we just throw something up and say, here you go, here's your rankings.
I'm sure that gets easier over years as you develop and gather data. So, not to take a turn towards the little nerdy side of this, since I'm also an IT professional, is your website, given your backgrounds, I'm assuming it is very secure and safe and locked down.
You've been asked that twice now so far.
Yeah, we take extra precaution to make sure that that happens and that we are secure. I don't want to go into what we do.
Which is good.
I think you could agree with me there. So, but yeah, we take extra precaution on that side of things.
Cool.
Kind of going off the new timing system that you guys are currently in the works of building and will kind of implement here shortly. I know that timing systems have vastly changed over the years, and kind of different systems have kind of come out. I volunteered at a race this past weekend where, I basically scanned a QR code on a bib to check in a runner. And I was like, well, I've never seen this before. That's kind of the coolest thing ever. I feel like the technology is changing so fast with these races. What are some of the things you're most excited about with your new timing software?
Well, why don't we start from the beginning, and then we're going to introduce this guy right here. So when Brent was developing this, I have a customer here in the bike shop that came in one day, and we were talking about the site. He thought it was really cool, and he left to go on his bike ride. And he came back 20 minutes later, and he said, "We need to partner up. You need to meet my brother. Let's have a meeting next week." And we were like, okay. So it turns out Dave and Steve Moglen, we partnered up with them for many reasons. Their company now is officially, we're all part of UR Ultra. And what we've noticed going on over the years is there's so many things that could happen at a race. People can get lost. That's one of the biggest ones. people get hurt. There's even been people that have died, unfortunately. Course cuttings, and then you've noticed a lot of these races now are being broadcasted live. And there's a lot of times where they won't know where certain runners are for hours on the course, because there's no reception, or there's no mats out in the middle of nowhere. And so not a whole lot. There's certain times of that race where nothing's really getting updated. Nobody knows anything.
Like the last 20 miles of a major 100-mile race.
Well, it happens, but that's just because of, technology and pricing and, it's just not there yet. So we had a meeting with Dave and Steve and told them our concerns and what we were looking to do, that we wanted to add a couple different timing systems to UR Ultra to make it easier for the race directors. And what these guys came up with just it blew us away. So from there, I will give you the man, the myth, the legend.
Thank you. No way to live up to that, Billy. So would you like me to describe what we're doing for you?
Yeah, that'd be great.
Okay. So let me set the table a little bit. We run a technology company, and we work both internationally as well as domestic. And what we do is we integrate technologies and create custom solutions. And I must tell you, of all the partnerships that we're working with, the UR Ultra partnership is the most exciting. I mean, these guys are the real deal. They are exactly what they say. And the things that they're passionate about, we're passionate about as well. So just the chance to work with them is exciting. But we're equally as excited about the solution that we're bringing to the table. And we tend to pigeonhole what we call a GPS timing and safety system, but it's actually two different technologies, and I'll kind of walk through it. So everybody on this podcast knows where GPS has come over the last 20 years. We went from a military component down to, our watches being very accurate. Our smartphones are very accurate. So we all know what the capabilities are. But the reality is, when you're developing in America, it's really difficult to develop a tracker tag that would be ethical for, these types of races. It's got to be cost effective. It's got to be sufficiently miniaturized. We've got to use the chips for America, which are very expensive. All of the communication chips are proprietary, so we've got to meet all those standards as well. And it's a long development process, but thankfully we're coming out the back end of that curve. We've been at it for about a year. And the product that we finally created is a miniaturized GPS tag that can pretty comfortably be tied into your shoelaces, certainly thrown into a fanny pack or a hydration vest, and you would notice it was there. Once we do that, we have near real-time accuracy of every participant that's out there on the course. And by accuracy, I mean maybe plus or minus 3 to 5 meters. So it is an exceptionally high performance type of system, and we can implement it all without those big timing gates. We don't need to bring in generators to run split timing mats or anything along those lines. We'll run it all through the cell towers.
We're eco-friendly.
We're eco-friendly. Well, we're race director friendly. So the problem is that, a lot of these races take place in really neat remote areas, and that's kind of the attraction of them. Those are also really bad cell service areas. So in parallel to the GPS, we developed on a LoRa-based platform as well. For those that don't know what LoRa is, we can bring in gateways that are about the size of a small shoebox. And with a very few of those, we can light up huge areas of landscape. And then, we put LoRa tags on rather than GPS tags. Tags talk to the gateways talk to the cloud, and then we're back to the same end where we were. Very accurate location of all of our participants. So now we know where everybody's at, and we've built in a world-class timing system. And it does everything you would expect. It'll show start times, it'll show time on course, splits, everything like that. We built in flexibility for point-to-point races, loop races, relay races, because those are all a lot of fun, and we want to accommodate those. But we also can provide a lot of physical data, like instantaneous velocity, acceleration, and energy curves. We're hopeful that, race teams can use that for their runner, in support of them as the race goes on. But we know that it'll be really valuable analytics when we put the topography course right beside it. And a competitor can go back and say, okay, this is where I put my energy in, push the hills too hard. And we hope that we can help them with their performance. So we'll see how that goes. The part of the system that I really like is the safety component. So we're feeding all this information in near real time. And what we've done is we've created this menu of safety options, and we're allowing the race directors to customize it. So I'll give you a couple examples. The tags themselves are sufficiently sensitive that they could detect a fall. So the race director could say, hey, if we get a fall and 30 seconds of no movement, I want an alarm. Or 60 seconds or 2 minutes of no movement, I want an alarm. Reverse running on a course, I want an alarm. 60 meters, 100 meters, whatever they tell us to do. We'll geofence every course. So if a participant goes off for either amount of time or by a distance, I want an alarm. And these alarms are coming from the cloud, so we can send them by text to the race director's phone, to the race team's phone. We could send them by voice from our bots, so we could leave voicemails for them. We can display them as text messages up on the screen if the race director wants to use our portal at the command center. So it doesn't matter how we get the information to the race directors, but now we can send somebody out there to help that participant get back on the course. If they twisted an ankle or something bad happened, we can really create this safety platform for them and create this umbrella that's never been there before. And that's really the part that I'm most excited about. One other portion of it that I'll tell you, we have this experience and sponsorship, and that'll go directly back to your question previously. When you're doing all this and you're providing all this information and you have it readily available, we want to serve it up in a nice experience. So it'll be a fluid and ongoing development. But to begin with, we're going to put up the race course. We can serve it up on a large screen at the start-finish line. That screen can also be viewed on iPhones, smartphones, laptops, anywhere around the world. And then we'll run the people through it. We can put all of the icons out there and show people where they are. We can stream performance data onto those icons. If the people answer questions and want to take the extra time as they register and put in fun facts, we can actually label those through there. We can put in things like points of interest in and around the course. A lot of these courses are run in really cool areas, so it'd be nice to put up points of interest and, help those towns that let us run those for venues, give them a thank you back. So we're going to create this race experience that we think is going to be really neat. And we'll take a myriad of input and we'll continue to improve that. And then the last thing I'll talk about before we answer a whole bunch of questions on it is the sponsorship. And we had talked about that portion of it. For the first time, this system is uniquely positioned because we tied into the registration. So we'll have eyes from all the participants. Every visitor, fan that comes to the race will have a chance to see it. All the race directors will interact with it. And then anybody who wants to tune into that race from anywhere in the world will see it as well. So maybe for the first time, these large-scale sponsors that want to have exposure into the ultra world can use us to get there. We think that we can finally provide the value and the number of eyes to handle some of these large-scale sponsors. And if we're successful in doing that, we want to move that money back through the communities as well. Give some back to the race directors. Maybe they can use that to lower race fees, or they could put a pool together to bring some people in that might not be able to run, with the race fees, or whatever they want to do with it. And we'll cross that bridge when we get to it. But we think we can actually attract those large-scale sponsors and introduce them to the entire community rather than the siloed approach that's out there right now. So those are the underpinnings of what we've developed. I'm happy to go deeper on any part of it.
To go back on the race director too, the race director, if they sign up for this on our site, they aren't going to have to do anything. They're just going to download the app, and it'll automatically pull their race and all the entrants for that race onto the site. And then as people finish, it'll automatically post the results straight back to the site. So the race director doesn't have to download or upload any CSV files. So it's really seamless for the race director.
And like we were talking about, everybody will know where those runners are at all times. With the big screen TV at the start finish, somebody could come up and say, hey, where's Joe Blow? We could type in his number and he'll pop up on the screen. This is where he's at. This is his pace. This is how quickly he's moving or slowly he or she is moving. Crew and pacers, they could use their phone app and know exactly where the runner is at all times. I mean, it's going to be a bit of a game changer for these races.
Put a lot of research into it.
Yeah.
I mean, and like I said, allows it, when you're, watching some races, and especially some recently, especially watching Arlen, not knowing exactly where runners are in front of you or behind you, sometimes, watching some live streams or whatever, someone might say, oh, Joe Blow went through here about 60 seconds ago, you're 4.5 minutes behind somebody. But to literally see on a screen where they are, is definitely again, back to like the velocity and some of that information. It's kind of staggering to think about what, like you said, when you can turn it on, when to take a breath, whatever. Pretty, like, literally game changing.
Yep.
Yeah, I was going to say there is so much to unpack with this statement that just came through, and there's so many aspects of it when both pros and cons depending upon which lens you're looking through, right? So there's going to be potentially there's going to be new policies for races where maybe elites aren't allowed to look at their phones because it maybe takes away from that fun where you were saying that you could see where somebody
think
is.
about it. Their pacer could actually be running with them and tell them who's behind them and how far.
And there's going to be discussions, and there's going to be open discussions about whether or not
we don't want to do anything. We don't want to do anything detrimental that's going to hurt the industry.
No.
We just want to help it.
Yeah.
And there's safeguards.
Yeah.
There's safeguards for what we can do with this.
Yeah, and I think the safety thing is huge. I think for a crew and pacer aspect, like I know my wife, like she's like just sitting waiting. You have no idea when I'm going to show up. Like if something's gone wrong, like those kind of things are fantastic. I think being able to pull that data, like you were talking about, to see kind of what you're doing and where you would be wasted energy, that's like fantastic and awesome. I have another, GPS based safety device, and it is clunky. And it takes forever to operate, and 10 minutes between messages. And I mean, it's good for, a safety problem, but to not have to worry about that and not have to carry that with me and whatnot, I think this is like literally game changing if it really rolls well.
We're going to run it side by side with a chip timer next month at the Whispering Grace 100, just to do a comparison to see the difference, the night and day differences. So that'll be fun to watch.
And I think you can, with you talking about bringing in like these large sponsors, like you're able to do that now with this. It almost makes some of the ultra running community more like modern sports, right? Where you can actually have that analytic live discussion. Like imagine Western States with Debo and everybody else sitting there looking at it going, watching where people are, to be like, oh, someone's pulling up, or they're wasting energy here and there. Like that is going to be crazy to see how they, sports
there's more and more we want to watch races, so
well, and with Western States, like that was an example I think we've kind of brought up, and since you kind of threw a word or a name out there, people who are watching that, there's more coverage, right? There's live coverage, there's commentary going, which is great to watch. But at the same time, if you were watching that race, there was a time that the tracking system, got lost a little bit, where who was where, because, there was a time when, the last handful of miles, there was a few miles in there that, no one knew until someone came out of the trail, said, oh, guess who's just showed up at the aid station. Now we know, and like you said, it's great. I'm sure Gordon Ainsley, is like, oh yeah, back when this was a horse race, you know what I mean? And now we've got watches and electrolytes and, whatever, so he's for one has seen some leaps and bounds, so, having live commentary for the races is definitely a new thing. So
I think too, the ultra community can never sell itself short. I mean, you guys are among the most passionate athletes in the world. The commitment day in and day out to be an ultra athlete is extreme, and product manufacturers, they know that, and they want to market into that community. So, I mean, loyalty is a big part of it.
And that's another thing too. You can do it on, a 100 miler. You could still use it on a 5K. It just reduces. We're trying to help the race director, be able to put on these races and have more out there.
So I want to get, we had that question twice. I got 2 emails this week. We talk a lot about ultras and 100 milers and big events, and, hence our name, You Are Ultra. But, we want to cater to everybody, the 5Ks, the 10Ks. Do they even do 10Ks anymore? Half marathons, so it's not just what people would consider an ultra distance. We want to take care of everybody, of all the races.
And at this time we have races, I think, that go from maybe at least a 10K.
We have maybe a 5K on there, 5K on up, yeah.
Yeah, so I mean, those races exist on there as well, and
Yeah, and these tags have to be waterproof. So I mean, there's nothing to keep us from jumping into the triathlon world with it. But for now, we're focusing it. We're pointed at the ultra world, and we want to make it right there first. I do want to go back to your question too about the ethics of changing the paradigm of the sport. If a race director says, "Hey, I don't want anybody to know. I want to maintain that integrity, and I don't want people to know where the other racers are by looking at their phone," that's easy enough for us to hide that for that race. So we're not looking to change the sport, in its spirit. If there is concerns along those ways, we have the checks and balances built into the software program that we can easily turn those features on and off. So we don't see that as an obstacle at all. Everybody wants to run their own show, and we'll accommodate.
Yeah, and from my perspective,
it also goes back to like what Cam was saying, something about the checking QR codes, right? You know what I mean? Like, I mean, I've been at races where they're taking the little piece of the bib and putting it over a spindle, and doing QR codes or whatever, which is all great and good for the races that can or need to do that. But if it takes you back to doing something else on the job or, a different volunteer position, and not have to do that, that's definitely a plus and a lot of man hours or whatever that, can be saved.
Yeah. One of the other aspects that I like about this is I lost running Burning River last year before, I think it was. I lost my cell phone because I was using it to track, and it got a little wet from the monsoon that wasn't supposed to happen that morning, as Wesley remembers. And I lost the cell phone. At that point I didn't have any means of communication with anybody at all. So that kind of it's nice to have it there. And then is there any plans, or can you trigger an SOS on it?
Yeah, we get that question a lot. And in this version of the tags, no, but we are absolutely including that into the next one. Okay. And then, the other question that came out that subsequently was, if somebody goes off course, could we put a speaker in there to notify, or a light to blink, or something to notify the runner? And we're working on that. You don't want to add the weight of a speaker at this point into that tag, but we're trying to figure out some way that we could vibrate it or something to alert the athlete as well. So there could be two-way communication. So yeah, those are futures.
Cool.
I think again, if by having the communication to be able to send text messages, most people that have a watch that's gets those messages, and again, those things can be turned on or off. So if a runner is wearing a smartwatch and goes off course, and they get their own signal to say, "Hey, you're off course," message it from UR Ultra or the race director of the race, or however we do it. So. And back to the other point about those certain devices that some people carry for tracking and certain things like that, they are weighty. We just had a guy do Tuscazor, last month, who was thinking about those things and decided to get one, and I don't know which brand you might be talking about, but they're all they're sort of in the same realm, and they might be around this size, and they hang on somewhere, what have you. But, some races no one's going to be able to afford to give one of those out to everybody at every race. You know what I mean? It's definitely a less affordable method of tracking and bulky yet.
Yeah. Unless your race entry is like $2,000, but
yeah. And we can't afford to give these out to everybody. So we got to collect them at the end. The good news is if you take it home, we'll be able to find you.
That's
within 3 meters of your house.
That is awesome. You'll know exactly what room it's in.
That's all I need to see is Eric knocking on my door at 4 a.m.
Yeah, go put the speaker feature in there, because I did not want to just hear a random voice going from the apartment at some random time.
Send it back.
My $10 bill.
Oh, that's awesome. I think the coolest part about this whole thing is, I think that you guys, it's shown that you guys have really thought through every little aspect of that, from whether it's the runner's perspective, the race director's perspective, the crew member's perspective, and kind of all different sides of the ultra running scene here. Where do you guys think this will be in 3 to 5 years, if you guys had to project your growth?
I think we'll be helping a lot of people within the next 3 to 5 years.
Yeah. And, I appreciate the fact that you set it up and said we've thought it through, but the reality is it's a living, breathing product. And, we're going to I actually appreciate the negative feedback more than I do the positive. So we'll be taking it out, and people will have ideas. And so where it heads in 3 to 5 years might surprise us all. We have the technology to do it, what features we want to build into it, how we want to make it look, feel, and breathe. might be something none of us have even contemplated right now. And it could be a runner in a race, in Wisconsin next year that comes up with the greatest idea ever. So it's a living, breathing thing. We'll take the input and we'll see if we can't make it something more special and more special. But I mean, let's be honest, these are spectacular races with really, really exceptional athletes.
Mm-hmm.
And the experience around them is pretty mundane. You watch them go off, there's a lot of excitement. And then you kind of start the finish line, go check them a few points along the way. But there's no real experience that matches the level of commitment that these people have to do to have this race. So we'd like to be able to bring that to the table.
Yeah, and I love that, be able to bring that to the table and show everyone involved, because when you go out there and you're like, for Tuscaloosa, for example, just being out there and recently and whatnot, no one's out at some of those viewpoints because they can't get there, and just to watch like the people grinding through and just to be able to see that later, or to be able to open your phone and app and see that they're still moving, that they're still grinding, they're trying to get it done, and they're moving. So.
Yeah, we actually had a runner come back and say that somebody was laying down on the trail. They weren't sure if they were dead or sleeping. And the way they described him, we instantly knew it was Timmers. So we jumped on the four-wheeler, went out there, and sure enough, he was sleeping, thank God. But, in cases like that where we would have known a half an hour earlier or 20 minutes earlier, just in case it was an emergency, would have been good.
Mm-hmm.
And Tuscaloosa is a good example, too, for the points of interest. I mean, it's a neat little town for those that don't know it. A lot of history with it. Currently, it's making history. And there's some cool places that you could go watch the runners if you knew where to go. So it's really a neat place for a venue. But if we help them point out those points of interest, maybe people would have a better race experience.
Yeah, I love.
What if if they find a nice sports bar that'll put it up on the big screen,
Yeah, well,
amen.
Be Buffalo Wild Wings.
Well, they did it here in town for Eagle Up. They actually filmed the Eagle Up race. They had a camera sitting down there, and they had the live feed at the Canal Boat Lounge right here on the course. So while crew and everybody was, sitting over there eating and drinking and being able to watch runners come by, and I thought that was pretty cool. But this is a little bit bigger than that, what they're doing. So it'll be neat.
Yeah, I'm super excited for everything that you guys are doing and bringing to this, the innovation that because you're so passionate and working on this with so much effort, you're going to provide all this new innovation for an industry that needs a little bit of a kick, right? Not that I don't want to say that in a bad way, but it's useful. It's very helpful. It's gonna challenge some of these other organizations and make them adapt and move the whole community forward, the whole ultra running organization and forward. The sport is going to move because of, I think, what you guys are doing here.
I think it's going to be good for everybody.
Yeah, I think so. Mm-hmm. We'd like to eliminate a lot of the bad stories. The ones that said I got off course in the middle of the night and had to scratch, laying on the track, things like that. We want to eliminate all those bad stories.
Yeah, definitely. Wesley, you got any other last minute questions before we jump into some of our quick questions here?
I'm ready for the quick questions if these guys are ready.
All right, so Eric knows this because he's been on the show. So we've got quick questions that we always ask at the end here. So we're going to go do our runner-based questions for the runners, and then Wesley's got some questions over there that we're going to ask. Because not everyone's a runner here, right?
I'm not at this point, no.
Okay, so we'll have some non-runner questions as well that we'll throw in there as well.
Our first ultra was Shawnee, so there we go.
50? Nice.
Yeah, it went from half marathon to 50 miler. This guy thought I was nuts.
That sounds about right.
You are nuts for that.
I was going to say, I mean, that's,
I will.
We can talk about that later.
Wesley just jumps in there and throws a definitive, you are nuts.
I will actually be there this weekend, and I'm super excited about it. It's, it's gorgeous weather, and I love that part of Ohio. It's just incredible. So for you runners over here, what's one thing you can't leave an aid station without? And we'll jump to Eric first.
It's changed rapidly over the last several months. I got a nutritionist, and I went to fat burning, so I don't really need much at aid stations now other than water. I mean, if you would have asked me 2 years ago, I'd be looking for cheeseburgers, pizza, Coca-Cola. all the good staple stuff. But it's now just as long as I got some water and broth, I'm good.
It's actually one of kefir.
Oh, and kefir. Yeah, my favorite.
Kefir's good stuff. Got it.
We ran the 100. I drank it all throughout the course the other day, and it was wonderful. It's amazing.
Did it become warm?
No, I kept it in the cooler. So when I got to the crew truck, I pulled it out of the cooler, would chug it, and keep running.
Because it's good cold. I don't know if I would want to drink
Oh
it.
no, I would drink it warm. I would vomit. It would be pretty bad.
like straight out of the goat or wherever you get it.
Yeah. I would definitely DNF that race.
There's an old video of Wesley and Michael Owen doing a chocolate milk challenge where you can see what happens to milk after it gets warm. When it comes back up.
Great.
Who threw up? Was it Michael or you?
It was Michael. Yeah.
Michael threw up. Yeah. They did hill repeats with chocolate milk.
Oh my gosh, I wouldn't even want to see it.
It's golden.
My main leave aid station would have to be gummy bears. That's the only way I finished Shawnee was gummy bears in my mouth, singing as loud as I could, finishing the last 5 miles. So
nice.
Gummy bears used to be good, yeah.
I'd say peanut butter, peanut butter, something, some form of peanut butter.
Peanut butter something. Let's see here. Weirdest hallucination mid-race or strangest thing you've seen somebody eat at an aid station, and this can be for everyone.
We were eating sushi this weekend while we were running out of our mobile aid station. That was quite interesting. Sushi and kefir, I know. And I tell you what, man, it was one of the best runs ever. I don't know.
What your hallucination was.
My hallucination? Okay. No, I was doing Burning River myself. I think it was my second Burning River. And somewhere around mile 70-ish, I think, I thought Ewoks were attacking me and chasing me through the woods. And I started running as fast as I could. And my pacer was actually filming it as I'm running down the trail, screaming for him to kill the Ewoks that they were trying to get me. And then I didn't think anything of it. And the next day it was posted on Facebook. It was rather humiliating. But yeah, I think that was.
It can be terrifying.
I was pretty dehydrated that race, so I was a mess. But yeah,
I'd have to go back to Shawnee. I mean, that train whistle that first year freaked me out, and I swear I was seeing trains flying around everywhere. That was absolutely terrifying to me. I thought I was literally going to get hit by a train. Then you get to the aid station, and the guy's just laughing his off at you. It's like, okay. So definitely there.
Scotty, have any good ones for us?
Not really. I think there was a time when I was running Badger night for about 2 hours straight. I could smell donuts, and I think it's like impossible. I don't know. And I didn't smell like donuts. I know that. And I have to say, a lot of the trail that you're running on in Badger is not donut land. I mean, so.
Dairyland.
I don't know. Yeah. So if that's a smell, whatever you want to call that, but
donut
yeah.
Smell.
I mean, as far as a hallucination, I guess I don't know.
So kind of not a super runner specific question here, but it kind of involves runners with the platform. If someone wanted to send support or provide feedback to you guys on your platform, what's the easiest way for them to go about doing so?
There's a contact us right on the front page where they could send us an email and we'll respond pretty quickly.
Yeah, that and there's a contact us page too. That's just go there, fill that out, put everything in there, and we'll respond.
I mean, in a nutshell, info@urultra.com works. But otherwise, yeah, you can fill out a form and send that in.
Yeah.
Awesome. And then kind of a follow-up off of that is, I know Original Nation loves the social media. So what social media platforms are you guys on at this point?
Scott's our social media guru. He's the one handling most of it right now. So
Facebook, Instagram, Twitter. We've been working on our newsletter and some of that kind of stuff, getting our newsletter email base going. So more coming.
You guys on TikTok?
Awesome.
The kids definitely want to know that.
Well, Be Real is the
TikTok.
new hotness, John. TikTok's
Oh,
like
and
last year.
Vero.
Be Real. Yeah, there's so
Yeah.
much going on. You can't
Yeah.
keep up.
Yeah, we're gonna have a huge be real.
yeah, I'll be running naked.
Brent's really into TikTok.
We'll do the TikTok of Eric running through the woods, being chased by Ewoks.
Drinking kefir and sushi.
Yeah. Yes.
All right, so we got two questions here that I'm going to shoot at you guys. These are both capable for everyone to answer, so they're pretty good here. What ball sport do you think you could beat most ultra runners at? Scott, if you want to go first on this one.
What ball sport?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, geez. I'd have to say something like football or something like that.
Yeah, I could. Depends on what you're defining as a ball, because bull riding. I mean, I've bull
That
ridden
would be a
for 4
ball
years.
sport. That could be a ball sport, realistically.
Left field, bull riding.
Hey, man.
That's an original answer on the show. I love that.
Yeah.
Oh,
We've asked that
bull
question
riding.
like 50 times at least, and I have never heard something so far to left field on that. That's great. I love
Oh,
it.
yeah. I've never
Like the
played
900 football.
So I don't know. I wouldn't be very good at ball sports. I think it sounds funny saying that, ball sports.
Ball sports. Yeah, I'd have to go with golf. Anything that would take endurance into task, they would run me down.
But golf's a ball sport, so yeah.
Yeah.
If ultra running had walk-up songs like baseball, what would yours be? So we have a Spotify playlist for Ridge Runners, and we put these songs on that playlist. So please add to the tunes of the nation. Eric, do you want to go first?
The beginning of every race, it's AC/DC Thunder is always that song that gets
Thunderstruck?
the blood and gets me moving a little bit.
God, it's
A
good.
walk-up song?
Baby got
I feel like I
back.
have No, I feel like I've got a tie. I feel like Jack White Lazaretto or Teddy Bear's Cobra Style featuring Mad Cobra. Look that up later.
We'll get Cam to put that one on the Spotify for sure.
There you go.
I know a lot of people might not like this, but I have to go with Kid Rock. The old school Kid Rock.
Yeah,
So
that would be kind of
That's
cool
good.
too.
Nice.
Yeah.
not the country Kid Rock.
The
real-
OG Kid Rock.
Yes.
How about you over there? What do you think?
Steve, you got to walk up?
Well, I mean, if I was going to do a walk-up, it would be a Bob Seger song. Probably Accompany Me. Maybe In Your Time.
We all know who the town elder is here.
Yeah. Hey, if that ages me, that ages me. But the gray hair should take care of that before we ever get to Bob Seger.
That's why you got to wear a hat.
Yeah. I just admit it.
You know,
Okay.
given that
still-
given that you guys are a small startup, I was expecting to see more hats, being worn here. So
What's that, please, John?
I said, given you guys were a small startup, I was expecting to see more hats being worn.
Oh,
Pun intended.
I've never not worn a hat. I've always worn a hat. They always will wear a hat. Yeah.
I was more referring to the fact that you all have to wear multiple hats for everything
Right.
all day long.
Oh, I have multiple hats. I'm a hat freak. It's like how they say the women in their shoes. I'm the guy. Well, I got the shoes too, but I love my hats.
hats and shoes.
I love the confidence with that statement. I have the shoes too. Don't worry.
Yeah, shoes. Everybody, for the most part, anybody who's a runner here probably has.
Yeah,
They
there's
don't
a lot.
know. There's more shoes than you ever need.
I'm the only runner who went the past 6 weeks without a pair of road shoes. I just got a new pair the other day, and it was life-changing. I was just wearing trail shoes everywhere. I forgot how great road shoes were. That's how my year is going so far.
like snow tires. You've been driving snow tires for years.
Well, I was riding to soccer and I wore soccer cleats and
Right. Nice. Those flats are nice, huh?
Yeah, crazy.
We gotta have a whole segment on the ultra runner shoe life cycle. 'Cause I'm sure we all have our own.
Well,
Tears.
sometimes we are Birkenstocks, so after hours.
After hours. Wesley, you want to snag that last question there?
I actually can't, so I'll let you handle that one.
Wesley's been off the show so long that he forgot one of his favorite questions to ask, so I'll go ahead and ask it for him. If you could run with one person in the history of the world, even if they aren't a runner, who would it be and where would you run?
Go off of your answer.
I think that I would probably go somewhere where it's very hot, and I would run with Jesus and ask him what the heck's going on and what he had in store for me. Just pick his brain a little bit. Yeah.
I feel like Jesus could probably run too. I just have that vibe.
Yeah. And
True.
sandals.
That too. Probably, yeah.
You could run across the water if you wanted with him.
You could.
Right. As well.
Scott, what about you?
Oh. Dang. That's a tough one. I think Johnny Cash.
Johnny Cash.
I do Johnny Cash. And do I have to ask him something specific?
No,
Or just talk to him?
Just talk to him. Where would you want to run?
Where would I run with him? I'd probably run the Appalachians with him.
Nice.
Good answer. You might hallucinate along that run. You might have.
I believe. I mean,
story.
again, are we talking early Johnny, late Johnny?
Early Johnny Cash.
Watch out for a train full of Ewoks.
Yeah.
Right.
Let me see. I'd want to run with
Britney Spears.
Hey, I'll run with her.
Almost lost my beverage, but that's fine.
God. I can't even. My answer now is can't compete with that.
That's it. You're done.
That's it. I'll run through Norway with Britney Spears. Take that.
This is live, Brent.
Hey,
I'd probably run with one of the generals from Gettysburg in and around that battlefield. And just ask them what the hell went on there. You don't get a chance to go there. The history is so thick. It's crazy. I mean, our entire country hinged on that battle, and I love it. So
That's pretty deep.
yeah.
that's how.
Well, I was preceded by Britney Spears, so I didn't have to go anywhere with
Yeah,
it.
that's true.
Hey, hit me one more time.
Amen.
Well, we've had a wonderful show this evening. Before we go, is any last comments you want to make about UR Ultra?
We just want to thank everybody for tuning in and giving us their ear to listen to what we're about tonight. And I hope you at least jump on and take a gander and check it out and tell us what you think. Like Steve said, good and bad. We want to hear it all, and we love all the feedback, and we hope that people are willing to give us a chance to see what we can do.
And I mean, if you need us to set up a race for you, we can do that. We have no problem doing that and spending time and making sure everybody knows how to use the system and is comfortable with it. So
Nice.
And I was gonna say, don't be misled exactly by the ultra part of UR Ultra. Like we definitely are. Any kind of race, any distance, any size. So.
Yeah, I think it's all been said. We thank you guys for walking through it with us, though. It was great to be on the show and great to meet you.
Awesome. Thanks again for being on the show. Go check out urultra.com. Go sign up for a race that they have on there right now. There's going to be probably a ton more showing up here in the future. These guys are great. And we'll see you on the next episode of Ridge Runners Live. Bye, everybody.
Thanks, guys.
Thank you.